A very warm welcome to our readers across the world. Today I'm your host Ruchira Garg, and I'm in conversation with an accomplished leader, author, and a delightful human being, Roxana Jaffer.
Thank
Roxana
you.
is a prominent humanitarian and she's also an entrepreneur. She is the CEO of Sovereign Hotels, which is a business recognized to be a responsible one, and a seven-time consecutively decorated business with the CSR Arabia Award. Roxana is an alumna of the University of Liverpool and the Harvard Business School. She is the founder of an NGO not for profit called ABC, the Advent for Building Human Capital. Her NGO positively impacted the unemployed youth, and nearly 70% of them have been helped to gain meaningful employment across the globe. Roxana herself is a decorated individual with several credits to her name, such as the Global Inspiration Leadership Award for Outstanding Leadership, the Best Woman in Hospitality in UAE, and the Indian Super 100 Women Achievers in the Middle East and Africa. These are just
Wow.
a long list of accolades. Her first book, A Parallel World, is a collection of poems aimed at exploring the spirituality and philosophy of human experience. Today, we are in conversation with her about her second book, Why I Did Not Die. In this book, through her near death life experiences, Roxana takes us as readers into an immersive journey as she finds meaning, purpose, and life and encourages her readers to do so. A very
Thank
warm
you.
Roxana, we are truly delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you, Ruchira. You really make me feel so welcome. Thank you so much. And I
Thank you.
look forward to our interview.
Absolutely. So, without much ado, let's start talking a little bit about why I did not die. It's a deep personal exploration of your own journey, your own life experiences, Roxana, and quite a few of them have been turning points in your life that you brought out to us.
Yes.
What
Thank
inspired
you.
you to write this book?
Um, Let me, before I come to the inspiration of why I wrote, let me just recount a few of my incidents. And I think you and maybe the readers will say, yeah, maybe it's worth us listening to more. And that's why I had the book. So from the age of 3, I have experienced powerful life, or shall I say, near death experiences. Each incident carried individual physical pain, mental pain, and I would get over the physical pain, be it burn bruises or manhandling distraught, or of being in a coma, or even breakage of bones, surgery pains, temporary paralysis, etc. I went through a lot, and each were taking about between 3 to 6 months to get over. But the physical pain, yes, the lacerations, etc., would gradually go down. But what of the mental trauma? Because each one, 8 experiences of such high magnitude, I would say, of course, left a scar on my inner. And, I used to have, what can I say, biting caustic pain that was slowly getting replaced as I started to help people, and I didn't want people to sympathize with me through pity, so I would not talk about it, but it was there. It was like as if a big weight on my chest. People didn't understand my mental situation, the lacerations, the lesions, etc. And I started to get over it all by just being through a state of shukrana, saying thank you. Thank you to God. So with the Shukrana, slowly I got better, but I don't think I actually really recovered till I wrote this book. In 2012, I had a very harrowing incident of being pulled by the Indian Ocean in the Maldives. Now, being submerged under strong waves, being pulled away towards the deeper bits of the Indian Ocean rather than where I was in the Maldives. My whole self was going under. I couldn't hear myself scream or shout or speak at all. And I had a friend who finally was able to, who managed to hold on to one of those stills. I couldn't do that at all. And I just went away and away and away. And of course, I know I was shouting, but I was not being heard because the waves were loud. Now, with that, of course, I was continuing with my shukrana, but I did change my prayer to asking for forgiveness because now I thought this was it. I was going and I needed to ask for forgiveness for anything that I may have done in my life that I had knowingly and unknowingly. And I thought, God could help me be renewed in a way through forgiveness. And you won't believe, Ruchira, that after a few minutes or seconds of my prayer being of forgiveness, the tide changed. There was a stillness in the water, and I was then drawn back towards the stilts. And I cannot believe that happened. Actually, even now when I'm thinking about it, I'm feeling quite cold, if anything. So it was at that time that I decided to go in and continue because the seed had been sown about me writing after my accident in Werfen in the Alps. I won't go through that whole incident, but after that, I had decided whilst I was in hospital with my leg raised up, with several bones broken, where the doctor said it's going to take you 6 months to get better, and I said, this is not going to work because 6 months is a long time, and I was air ambulanced to London, to my home. And whilst I was there, I suddenly said, you know what? What is the learning of this incident? And I actually penned down the learnings of that incident at that time. And I'm thinking, now I'm thinking, but I am now thinking coolly. And I'm saying, you know something? I need to look through and think through what other learnings I've had from different incidents before that. And so when I was able to, I started to write one or two. I realized that, you know what? I am feeling good. I'm feeling better. I've got the physical pain, but that mental pain, the heart pain has lessened. And as that happened, I started to write my book. And that's what I decided, that I had to write the book. So the seed was sown at the time of in work, but then I accomplished it and started in earnest after the. So here I am.
And aren't we glad? Aren't we glad that those seeds were sown and you decided to share your experiences with us? Listening to you just now, I was wondering, you've recalled incidents from the age of 3, and even right now when you were telling us about an incident which was about say 15 years back. How did you recall these experiences and your emotions and what you were going through from that age onwards with such precision and clarity as you wrote this book? It's a very immersive experience to read the book.
Yes, thank you. Ruchira, even I'm baffled, totally baffled, that I can remember everything that happened when I was so young. And a lot of my friends have asked, and I think as soon as I see this trauma lessening, my power of my brain is taking me back to which I had shut out. And suddenly all that shut out is coming back on paper. I mean, when I started doing that, I could even smell the smell of the frangipani, where I woke up from a coma when I was only 3, and in a bed in my nanny mom, my grandmother's courtyard of her orphanage. And then I could hear the sound of all these young beautiful girls who were malhandled, etc., but who were praying for me to get better. And so I still hear that sound. And they were not of one faith; they were of different faiths, but they were being how do you say, the prayer in unison is just amazingly powerful. And so I remember that. I remember the grotesque makeup and the hoarse voices of the hijra who kidnapped me at 3.5. And I even remembered after that the sharp pains where they manhandled me. I mean,
Right.
that was very, very striking. And I remembered all that pain that all came back to me at that time when I'm writing the book. And then the one beautiful image that I remembered was of these two hunks in Austria who came to pick me up where there was no space in the mountain on a stretcher, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, these are angels, God sending me angels because they're so handsome, etc. And I just fell asleep again or went into my whatever concussion or whatever it was. So I remembered all these things very, very, very precisely. And of course, after I've written the book, I shared the same experiences with, like, for instance, my mother at 3, my husband when I had a car accident, my friends who traveled with me to orphan, to substantiate that what I was writing was actually correct, and they all agreed, and they all said, "Oh my God, I can't believe," because even they'd forgotten. Like my mother couldn't remember the charpai that I talked about. She said, "Oh, charpai? You were sitting, yes, yes, you were." Now, she'd forgotten about that, but it was in my book. And so
Right.
that was a memory jogger to her as well. So I don't know whether it's a good thing or not, but all I can say is that when I started writing, a big weight was taken off my shoulders. And I can now talk about my trauma and traumatic experiences very freely. I couldn't before. I just kept very quiet. I was a happy-go-lucky child, but inside only I knew what I was going through. So
Sometimes that's
that's
just the
my.
power of
I
our
hope that answers
subconscious.
you.
Yes, absolutely. And I was saying that sometimes it's just the power of the subconscious because some incidents are so deeply impactful, which we don't realize when that's happening, but it kind of stays with us, and then it comes out, sometimes channelized in a very positive way, like it has in your case. But when you mentioned about I kept it inside me for so long, when
Yes.
you're in a position of influence, anybody, whether a leader, an industry leader, a celebrity, it's very, very difficult to put yourself out there and share
Yes. Yes.
emotions, your vulnerabilities, mistakes one has made. And you've shared a lot of that with utmost candor in the book. What
Yes.
made you or open up to embracing this vulnerability? You are a highly accomplished leader in your field, and what made you embrace this vulnerability? And were there any challenges while doing so?
Yes. Now, your question makes me think. Um, can I embrace vulnerability for a near-death experience? Can anybody? Um, I had no choice really but to just accept what was happening. I mean, when you're falling through a roof or something, you didn't know it was going to happen, and I think God selected me. Is how I've taken it. That He selected me not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 8 times that I have reported in the book. There are many smaller incidents, but they were not life threatening. So these I have put down but what can I say? I had to, I had to do them. I had to accept them, and had to become vulnerable, if that's anything.
Right.
But I just want to say that once I realized that these incidents were not happening to everybody, but they were unique to me, it became clear that they were special, that to me, and therefore I needed to share them. But more than that, I had to share the learnings at each incident, and there
Right.
have been about nearly 50 learnings that I have called realizations that I write about in the book, and I think they are valuable for everybody, any walk of life, whether
Right.
you're young or older, you're in business or at home, or if you're in an entrepreneur, I think they will all be valuable to you. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Mm.
You while we focus so much on life-threatening incidents mentioned in the book, there is a very specific and sensitive topic you've highlighted about being adopted. You know, and you've brought out the trauma that the adopted child goes through. We all live in, at least on this side of the world, we live in a culture where adoption is still seen as an act of generosity. It's either to give someone a better life, or it somewhere comes from that kind of a feeling. And
Yes,
you talked about what the child goes through, it's somewhere assumed that it's all in good interest of the child. So your perspective
yes,
is really eye-opening, as I was reading through it.
yes.
What message would you like
Well,
to give our
y-
readers
y-
about this?
yes. Well, I have addressed adoption of myself, not of
Mhm.
anybody else,
Right. Yes.
as a very near-death experience.
Right.
All right, and that's why it's in this book. The thing is, because yes, adoption, as you say, culturally is taken as an act of generosity, but it is because you're providing a home,
Right.
providing parentship to maybe an orphan. But I already had a home. I already had parents whom I loved.
Right.
Why was I taken away from them?
That's right.
Do you see? And so, if my life was going to be taken away as God was doing this and then not letting me go,
Yeah.
it was the same kind of experience I was having. And remember, I was just going over, I was 8. I was
Mm.
still getting over my trauma of being kidnapped and of being burnt when I was 3. And
Right.
there I'm trying to cope with that quietly without telling anybody, and suddenly and my parents decided to take me to
Right.
court,
Right.
and I was so young, I didn't understand when the judge is asking me, oh, do you like mota mummy? And I'm saying, yes, I do, papa, yes, because they used to give me chocolates and clothes and everything, and I was very naive, very young, very immature, and I said yes. It's only after,
Right.
but I must say something, that when I went to school, I went very haughtily saying, I'm the only one with 2 mummies and 2 daddies
Right.
and everything. And after a little while, everybody got bored with me. And I realized that. And when they got bored with me and I was no more a adoptive queen, as it were, it dawned on me that, what is this? Why have they done that? Nobody else has 2 moms and 2 dads. Why do I need them? Am I that bad? Am
Right.
I, I don't know. So the trauma that I had for that was like as if being um, to a near death experience. So I put this in a chapter in my book, and only because I want others to come to terms with if anything happens like that to them as well. And also, why? Because
Mm.
forgiving my real parents, played a big part in me
Right.
becoming normal again. So that's the reason why.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
in our culture where there is a preference to adopt from within the family, your insights are really eye-opening, for people to
Yes.
think about both sides, of what
Yes.
really goes through and be prepared for it a little better. So we're very glad that
Yes.
you picked on this particular incidents from your life.
Yes. Thank
You know,
you.
Just changing course a bit, while I was reading the book, there are,
Sorry, can I just come back one more,
yes,
Ruchira? I just wondered if they had my parents and my adoptive parents had maybe prepared me for this particular action that they were going to take.
right,
Maybe I may not have put it in my book. Maybe I would not have felt so bad. Maybe I would not
right,
have been so traumatized.
right,
I don't know. So I think maybe there's always merit in perhaps letting the child know as soon as they
right,
can. The parents always do it from their side. Oh no, what if they go and look for the real
absolutely,
parents or whatever, or they find out as to why. I personally think that they're human beings. We too are human beings. We are individuals. We have feelings, and I don't think we should take have the right to take decisions on their behalf.
absolutely,
But I might be
absolutely.
wrong.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. I hope it gives some people that perspective to prepare, for adoption better on both sides. So I'm glad you're calling this
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd
Thank
like to talk
you.
about something else that I caught while I was reading the book. I was deeply intrigued by the fact that there are, mentions of miraculous interventions happening while, when you face these near-death incidences. And in
Yes.
these moments of crisis, there were unexpected forces of help. Like you had the fakir who just came out of nowhere and rescued you from the kidnappers, or the
Yes.
doctor turning
Yes.
up in a nice cave, behind you in the queue somewhere, or
Yes.
or even the hand that you
Yes.
mentioned who pulled you out of the Indian Ocean, right? So I mean, many a times these
Yes.
people come into our lives only for that moment. They're not there before. We don't know where they go after, right? We'll never get to see them.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Based on your experiences, what would you like to share or with our readers about, how do you recognize and appreciate such help, from unforeseen quarters when it comes and such moments in life?
Mm. Ruchira, first of all, thank you for being so perceptive about my um, near-death experiences and seeing what I have written in there. And I have always felt that there has a godly figure who came to help me, right? And this reminds me of first, I just wanted to say thank you, Ruchira, for being so perceptive to my incidents and how I was perhaps helped by forces beyond my even my imagination. Even from at the time when I was got burnt, this Uncle Fakir came with this very mysterious kind of medicine that has helped me to open up my toes, which were joined together, and also the scars to be lessened. Now, I've not seen him again. Nobody remembers him. Where he came and how he went, is a blank for all of us. But as I said, that there's some a little, and in the book, by the way, you will find that I have juxtaposed all my thinking and thoughts with a lot of quotations of the scriptures. I did a lot of research on
Right.
all my subjects, and so or I'll have quotes from gurus that I liked, and so you'll find a lot of understanding as to what was happening, backed, substantiated by these little quotes I give you. And so I feel it's at the same time when all this happened to me, I I cannot say why or how or what. All
Mm.
I can say is that I go back and agree that Surah Baqarah says that Surah Baqarah in the Quran says that Allah only gives that much pain to an individual so for that person to be able to bear. And so therefore I felt, now I'm thinking that maybe that was about my um, how do you say, my threshold, and I had people coming in to help me throughout. Again, these incidents happened. I don't know why. There's a force.
Mm.
And afterwards, I was helped again by a force. So this is trying to tell me that, there is this big force. Don't forget. Let's
Right.
think about He who is above all else. And that's yes, and so I have to acknowledge them as well, and I have to say that I don't think I would have been here, but something, they wanted me to. God wanted me to stay, so that's why He sent somebody. But if I had gone, I think I wasn't scared of death anyway, and I shouldn't be. In fact, I'll tell you a story here now. After these 8 incidents, my book is out, etc., and the year after, I had a brain tumor. Now, capital, it's not in my book, and it wasn't life threatening anyway, but it was still a tumor. And I had a surgery from here to here, and 28 stitches, and it removed the tumor. Now, my husband says to me that, you know what, we have to be strong. It was funny how he took the tumor as being his. Is we have to be strong, and we have to look after that you get on and be okay. So he is yet another God that I've forgotten to mention, without
Right.
whose help I would not have been able to survive. And so I said, fine, we will. And he used the word gremlins. He says, we do not want to hear or think about gremlins in your mind. And so
Right.
we need to get rid of them. So what I did was, a day before my surgery, I wrote a poem called It Is,
Mm.
So It Is. God wished it, so it is. It's a beautiful poem, and it's not published, but I can read it if you want it at the end, if you want.
For sure.
And with that, I didn't cry over the 9 months it took me to get over my physical ailments, and I was strong. And he used to break down more, like not cry, but he used to get despondent. He used to get sad, and was I didn't, and
Mm.
so therefore you've got to. So I learned that, what, God gives it to you. I've got to help God to get better. I don't know. Powerful,
Yes. Profound and very, very insightful.
Ruchira.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
I was saying it's very profound and very, very insightful. Would love to hear a few more words from you towards the end. Would love you to read this. Thank you for that insight, Roxana. You also very beautifully emphasize in the book about, remembering people who lift you up versus people who push you down. And in an era where we tend to mull over negative experiences quite a bit and take back toxicity back home, from our work, from our other parts of life, this is really good advice. So what practical suggestions or advice do you have for our readers on how can they focus on the positive influences in their life versus the negative ones?
Yes, indeed. I try to remember everybody who's had a positive impact on me. Sometimes even the negativity can make it positive for you. So you do not need to just negate those people. But mainly, I like to keep all the memories of everything positive in my mind, because I feel that's the only way I can maintain a positive outlook on life. Now, despite all these traumas, in a very happy place today. I haven't mulled over the pain now. I mean, ever actually, even though I did, but I kept it to myself. And you will see that I'm always very constructive, optimistic, and hopeful. I think we have to remain the same, especially if in any calamity that falls on us, befalls on us. I mean, one of my biggest learning. during these incidents was something at the age of 3 that I learned was don't let melancholy rule. It's in the book. And I learned this, and I've used that title, and I learned this from the young girls in the orphanage. Some were physically abused, some were sexually abused, some were victims of deep rooted societal prejudice or sexism. They put their hurt, those painful thoughts aside and started to learn to smile. My nanima used to tell them, okay, we have to keep smiling. When you smile, I believe now all the facial muscles that help to lift you up um, help you. And so that they taught me, therefore, to always smile. Smile is a blessing. And to remain sad is of no consequence. So why can I not be positive?
Well, as they say, it takes more muscles to frown than to smile, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So what are the three things you would like our readers to take away from Why I Did Not Die?
You're putting me on a spot, Ruchira. There were about 50, and you only want me to choose three. I think I think we need to. Everybody can read and then come up with what suits their psyche. Each learning is unique. It has a unique significance at the time of life that you're in and the time of life of what you're coping with. And therefore, for me, they're all good. And they have all helped me and highlighted for me to be profound and gave me deep wisdom for me. But I will say what was my favorite for towards the end, which I've liked, but that doesn't mean I haven't liked any other. Is that one? Life is ordained. It begins and it ends only survived by the soul. Okay. The second one is that we must turn adversity into an advantage. Don't wallow on your adversity because you're not going to move out of there. The other one that I liked is nothing is born, nothing dies, no one cheats death. I mean, I don't know, I've cheated it 8 times, but that doesn't mean I can't keep cheating. I have to die, right? And the main one that I think which we should all adapt right from now is to delete toxicity from our life. Delete bad energy. You know, we are very culturally bound and we have all these aunties and uncles and chachas and telling us this and this and this, and they are giving you sometimes a lot of bad energy. And I feel if something doesn't stay right with you, have less to do with them. Don't stop talking to them or whatever. There should always be the hello, hello, and namaste, but don't have more than that. Delete toxicity. And I'm telling you, it's really worked for me. I've had friends, I've had even family who would poo poo at me and laugh at me and say, you know what, I think you're just a drama queen and whatever. And I realized if only you knew what I was going through. And when I stopped being in their energy circle, I felt I improved. So that's one important. It's actually in my book, and one must read that one. Okay. So I hope I've answered your question because I want readers to interpret the knowledge in the book to suit themselves under circumstances rather than me telling you because it might not have that personal meaning and inspiration that they all need. So
Um,
there are these. Yeah?
and
Thank
there are
you.
some great lessons in the book that, while they are your personal experiences, but, everyone can relate to one thing or the other in some way. So some really great
Yes.
insights coming out from the book. Well, our readers are
Thank you.
curious to know, Roxana, what's coming up next from your pen? Is there an idea or a project you're working on?
Well, thank you for being curious and eager. Well, first I'd ask everybody not to just go to just my book, Why I Did Not Die, but go and explore the parallel world, my book on poetry.
Right.
I think it gives you a lot of words and poetic language to reflect on and become aware of God's greatness. Because the poems are all on spirituality, on philosophy. The one poem that I really like in the book is called Sari Pallu. And it's interesting to know how for us, we wear the sari all the time and we have this pallu that we want to give correctly, but we don't give it much more thought
Right.
than the beautiful piece of fabric. I've taken it one further and I said how many uses it has. And that pallu to me is like God. And
Right.
so for me, it's beautiful, that one poem. So these are the two that we must read, but there is a third book coming up. I've only half written it. It's called Healthy Happenings.
Right.
It's going to be a totally different genre, and it's to do with your health, which is also very important. I've given you spiritual sort of health with the physical in the book Why I Did Not Die, but in the healthy happenings, it'll give me much more an understanding of physical health and how that then will help our spiritual. So yeah, please watch out for that book too. I hope you interview me for that too.
For sure, we'd be eagerly waiting for it. And finally, what advice do you have for aspiring authors, especially those who want to share their own life experiences or vulnerabilities with the world?
Well, if you have a story to tell it. If it deserves to be shared, share it. You never know when your book will hit one person who is needing that little help. And the thing is, after you finish, you never know. It's going to be one of those wonderful legacies you're going to leave behind. So, yes, everybody who can write, please do so. And it'd be a pleasure for me to read. Please let me know you're writing with that you heard my words with you and that triggered you to write. And I'd love to read your book.
Great, fantastic. Thank you so much for that advice, Roxana. And well, we are not letting you go before we hear something from a parallel world. So, would love to hear,
Oh,
you read out something to us from a parallel world. Maybe a few lines from, Sari Pallu. We are now, it has piqued our curiosity.
okay. Thank you. That's very kind of you. It's one of the easier poems. There are other poems that are more difficult to think of, but uh, I think you'll like this. And so thank you. With
Sure,
your permission, may I read it? Okay.
absolutely. We're all yours.
Thank you. So, Sari Pallu, a piece of fabric 6 yards long, 1 yard left trailing of this sarong, body draped to hide the sensuous self over the left shoulder of myself. Elegant, this 1 yard trail, with uses much more of this veil, whether for drying children's ears or as a hand towel for the dirty ears, providing an anchor for the shy kids, or becoming a cover for the sleepy eyelids. Remover of hot pans from the stove, emitting a fragrance of a winter clove. Is this useful pallu just a very long yard, a giver of warmth or a useful arm guard, a carrier of sweet scented flowers and scattered toys, a purposeful piece of fabric ready to poise? Best of all, drawing a simile to the supreme, a giver of love, warmth, fragrance, and esteem, a drape for the sensual self indeed, but uses of a protector decreed. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for reading that out to us. And on
Thank
this
you.
beautiful note, we end our conversation with the wonderful Roxana Jaffer. For those of you who have not read the book, I would strongly urge you to read Why Did I Not Die? And I'm going to get my copy of A Parallel World. And we hope to have more conversations with Roxana soon as we await her next book. Thank you so much. And thank you, Roxana, for joining us today.
Thank you, Ruchira. You've been a wonderful host, and you really made me go into the depths of my heart and soul. And I hope I was able to impact somebody from our talk.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.